Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah salam. What if I told you the biggest thing stealing your peace right now is not people, but your reaction to them? What if just one habit, one mindset shift could save you from regret, broken relationships, and sleepless nights? How many times have you said something in anger and wished you could take it back? And here's the reality: if you don't learn to control your anger, it will control you, destroy your peace, and damage what matters most. But imagine a life where people can't shake you, where insults don't break you, where negativity doesn't even enter your heart. That level of peace is possible, but only if you take this seriously today. Allah has said so, praises those in the Qur'an who restrain their anger and pardon people. Subhanallah, not just those who pray or give charity, but those who control what's inside their hearts. Because anger doesn't just affect a moment, it shapes your character, your relationships, and your akhirah. If you master your anger, you master your life. One of the main reasons people struggle with anger is that they react immediately to situations without stopping to think. From the moment someone says something hurtful or acts in a way that frustrates us, our instincts often push us to respond in the heat of the moment. We may shout, argue, or speak words we later regret. This impulsive reaction is natural because the human mind is wired to defend itself, to protect the ego, and to feel a sense of control. But this reaction comes at a cost. Each time we react without thinking, we give away a piece of our inner peace, damage relationships, and feed the cycle of conflict and stress. Anger becomes a habit that controls us rather than a tool we can use wisely. In daily life, this tendency shows up in small and large ways. Maybe someone cuts in front of you in traffic, a colleague makes an unnecessary remark, or a family member disagrees with you on something trivial. Instead of pausing, we explode emotionally. These moments may feel temporary, but their effects can linger. Words spoken in anger can hurt deeply. Relationships can fracture. Trust can be damaged, sometimes beyond repair. Over time, a person who reacts impulsively finds that their anger no longer serves them. It becomes a burden. It impacts mental health, sleep, and overall happiness. In addition, repeated angry reactions can also distance a person from Allah, because controlling one's anger is a highly valued act in Islam, praised in the Qur'an and exemplified by the Prophet ﷺ. The solution begins with learning to pause. The simple act of stopping for even a few seconds before responding creates space in the mind and heart to choose a better course. Instead of reacting, you can respond with wisdom, calmness, and patience. One practical step is to seek refuge in Allah by saying quietly, A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytanir rajim. Whenever anger rises, this reminder helps break the automatic chain of reaction and reconnects the heart to Allah. Another helpful approach is to practice deep breathing, counting slowly, or even walking away briefly to regain composure. Over time, these small steps build a habit of restraint that protects both your relationships and your peace of mind. The deeper truth is that anger only has power over us if we let it. By pausing, reflecting, and choosing to respond rather than react, we reclaim control over our hearts. Every moment you practice this restraint strengthens your character, strengthens your connection to Allah, and gradually transforms your responses into actions rooted in patience and wisdom rather than frustration. It is not an easy habit to form, but it is one of the most rewarding skills a person can develop because it directly protects the peace of your qalbi and the harmony of your life. Another major reason we struggle with anger and irritation is that we spend far too much energy reacting to things that don't deserve our attention. Every day people say things that annoy us, situations unfold that frustrate us, and the world constantly challenges our patience. If we let ourselves react to all of it, our emotional energy is drained, our hearts become heavy, and our peace is shattered. We begin to feel that life is constantly against us, that nothing ever goes smoothly, and that the world is full of obstacles designed to provoke us. This mindset not only fuels anger, but also increases stress, anxiety, and unhappiness, making even small incidents feel overwhelming. The reality is that not everything requires a response. Some words are meant to hurt, some actions are careless, and some situations are simply beyond our control. When we respond to every insult, criticism, or inconvenience, we are allowing external events and other people's behavior to control our inner state, and other people's behavior to control our inner state. This creates a cycle where our hearts are never at rest and our energy is constantly being consumed by matters that ultimately do not matter in the grand scheme of things. Over time, this habit can erode our relationships, affect our mental and physical health, and even weaken our connection to Allah, because patience and self-restraint are acts of worship that bring immense reward. Islam provides a powerful example for us in this regard. The Prophet ﷺ faced insults, opposition, and even harm from people around him. Yet he responded with dignity, patience, and calmness. He chose carefully where to invest his energy and when to respond, showing us that self-control is stronger than reaction. Following this example, we learn that sometimes the best response is to remain silent, to overlook, or to simply step away from a situation. Choosing to conserve your energy for what truly matters is not weakness. It is wisdom, strength, and a way to protect your kingdom. Practically, you can start by asking yourself before reacting, will this matter in 5 days, 5 months, or 5 years? If the answer is no, then it does not deserve your anger or attention. Another helpful practice is to focus on gratitude and what you have instead of what irritates you. Redirecting your focus shifts your energy from negativity to positivity and strengthens your patience. Over time, you will notice that you are no longer easily provoked. Your heart begins to feel lighter and your peace is restored. You learn that by letting go of trivial matters and controlling where you invest your energy, you protect your emotional well-being and cultivate a state of inner calm that cannot be disturbed by anyone or anything. A deeper reason why we get angry or feel bothered by others is that our ego often gets in the way. Many times, it is not the situation itself that triggers anger, but the way our hearts interpret it. When someone criticizes us, disagrees with us, or acts in a way that challenges our sense of self, our ego reacts. It wants to defend itself, assert its importance, and protect our pride. This is why even small comments or minor disagreements can feel magnified in the heat of the moment. The ego convinces us that we are being wronged, attacked, or disrespected, and in response, anger flares up. The impact of letting the ego control our reactions is far-reaching. Every time we respond from a place of pride rather than wisdom, we risk saying or doing things we later regret. Words spoken in the heat of anger can wound relationships, damage trust, and create unnecessary tension in both personal and professional settings. Over time, this habit conditions the heart to be reactive, always on edge, and constantly defending itself against perceived slights. It can lead to isolation, resentment, and even spiritual stagnation because the heart becomes preoccupied with itself rather than turning toward Allah and the guidance He provides. The solution lies in humility. Recognizing that your ego does not define your worth is the first step toward controlling anger. When you understand that it is not necessary to always be right or to assert your position, your heart becomes lighter. Humility allows you to prioritize peace over pride, to forgive rather than retaliate, and to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. By letting go of the need to always protect your image or defend your self-importance, you give yourself the space to choose patience and wisdom, even in situations that would normally provoke frustration. A practical way to implement this is by pausing and asking yourself, do I need to respond or can I let this go? Another is to silently remind yourself, I choose peace over proving a point. This simple mental shift helps to redirect the energy from anger to self-control. Additionally, reflecting on the words of the Prophet ﷺ, who forgave and showed humility even in the face of insult and harm, provides a powerful example of how the ego can be restrained in favor of higher spiritual and moral goals. Over time, practicing humility and self-awareness changes the way you experience challenges. You no longer feel personally attacked by every word or action, and your heart becomes less reactive. Situations that once caused frustration are met with calmness, and you begin to cultivate an inner strength that cannot be easily shaken. This is how controlling the ego transforms your emotional life. It protects your peace, strengthens your will, adorations, and draws you closer to Allah by nurturing patience, wisdom, and self-mastery. Another key reason we allow anger and irritation to control us is that we often forget the power of silence and the strength that comes from walking away. Many times when someone provokes us or a situation becomes tense, our instinct is to respond immediately. We argue, explain, defend ourselves, or try to assert our position. In those moments, we feel that speaking up is necessary to protect our honor or show that we are right. However, this instinct often escalates conflict rather than resolving it. Every heated response can feed the tension, magnify the problem, and create an emotional burden that lingers long after the situation has passed. Silence, on the other hand, is a tool of wisdom and restraint that protects both our hearts and our relationships. Choosing silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a display of strength and self-control. The Prophet ﷺ demonstrated this countless times, responding to insults, mockery, and provocation with patience, dignity, and sometimes silence. By refraining from immediate reaction, he preserved his inner peace, avoided unnecessary conflict, and exemplified moral and spiritual superiority. This is a powerful reminder that strength is not measured by how loudly we defend ourselves, but by how well we can maintain composure and control our responses. The impact of ignoring this principle in daily life is significant. Reacting impulsively can damage relationships, create resentment, and prolong conflicts. It can also exhaust our emotional energy, leaving us stressed, frustrated, and spiritually drained. Over time, a person who always engages in arguments or responds to every provocation develops a reactive pattern that feels impossible to break. This pattern not only affects interactions with others, but also weakens the heart, making I more susceptible to anger, resentment, and even sadness. A practical way to cultivate this habit is to pause whenever emotions rise. Physically stepping away from the situation can be effective. Sitting down, taking deep breaths, performing wudu, or simply leaving the room for a moment to regain composure. During this pause, remind yourself of the greater goal: preserving peace, dignity, and your connection to Allah. Ask yourself, does this moment truly require my response, or can I choose silence for the sake of my heart and my relationships? By consistently practicing restraint and valuing silence over reaction, you gradually build emotional strength. The situations that once provoked frustration will no longer control your heart. You will begin to notice a calmness within yourself, a sense of dignity in your actions, and a clarity in your decisions. Over time, silence becomes not just a response, but a way of life, a tool that shields your peace, nurtures patience, and strengthens your connection with Allah, allowing you to remain unshaken no matter what challenges come your way. Another vital key to never getting angry and not being bothered by anyone is the act of forgiveness. Holding grudges and keeping score of wrongs done to us may feel satisfying in the moment, but in reality it traps the heart in ongoing tension and unrest. When we refuse to forgive, we carry a heavy burden of resentment, replaying hurtful moments over and over in our minds. Each thought fuels anger and bitterness, making it harder to respond with patience or maintain inner peace. The longer we hold on to these negative feelings, the more they control us, and the more we allow external events and people to disturb our hearts. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is not about excusing someone else's behavior or saying that what they did was right. It is about freeing your own heart from the weight of anger and resentment. Islam teaches us that forgiving is an act of strength, not weakness. The Prophet ﷺ forgave those who harmed him, who plotted against him, and who insulted him. He demonstrated that true strength lies not in retaliation but in rising above offense and choosing mercy over vengeance. Forgiveness brings peace, softens the heart, and protects the soul from being consumed by negativity. In practical terms, forgiveness can be approached gradually. It can begin with small steps, such as consciously letting go of minor irritations or choosing not to dwell on past slights. A powerful habit is to end each day with a reflection. Recall anyone who has wronged you and silently say, Ya Allah, I forgive them for your sake. Even if the person has not asked for forgiveness, releasing your own anger and resentment brings immediate relief and strengthens your emotional resilience. Forgiveness also teaches perspective. It helps us recognize that holding grudges or seeking revenge rarely benefits us. It only prolongs suffering. By choosing to forgive, we prioritize our own peace over our ego or desire for retribution. We begin to see that the people who hurt us are often acting out of their own weaknesses or ignorance, and their actions do not define our worth or disturb our spiritual state unless we allow them to. As forgiveness becomes a consistent practice, its effect on your life is transformative. You start to notice that you are no longer easily provoked by the same situations or words. Your heart feels lighter, your relationships improve, and your connection to Allah strengthens because your actions align with His guidance. Forgiveness shifts the power from others to you, from allowing external events to disturb your peace to consciously protecting your heart. It becomes a shield against anger and negativity, a source of inner strength, and a path to lasting contentment. In this way, forgiveness is not only an act of mercy toward others, but also a vital tool for cultivating a heart that remains calm, unshaken, and deeply connected to Allah no matter what challenges arise. The final key to never getting angry and not being bothered by anyone is understanding that you cannot control others. You can only control yourself. Many people spend their lives trying to change others, to make them act or speak in a way that suits their preferences, or to defend themselves when they feel wronged. This constant struggle creates endless frustration because the truth is, people will always behave according to their own choices, personalities, and circumstances. When we try to control what is outside our power, we set ourselves up for disappointment, anger, and stress. The heart becomes restless because it is tied to outcomes it cannot influence, and every interaction has the potential to disturb our peace. Accepting this reality is liberating. When you focus on controlling your response rather than trying to control others, you reclaim your emotional power. You decide how to feel, how to react, and how to protect your peace, regardless of what anyone says or does. This is a profound shift. Instead of being at the mercy of external events, you place your trust in Allah and your own ability to maintain calm, dignity, and patience. By letting go of the need to influence others, you release the weight of unnecessary stress and free your heart to focus on what truly matters: your character, your actions, and your relationship with Allah. In daily life, this principle can be applied in many ways. If someone speaks harshly to you, pause and remember that their words reflect their own state, not your value. If someone behaves unfairly, remind yourself that your response is a choice. You can react with anger, or you can respond with patience and wisdom. When someone tries to provoke you, take a deep breath, say, Audu billahi min ash-shaytan irrajim. Consciously choose to rise above the provocation. The moment you recognize that you are not responsible for their actions, only your own, the power dynamic shifts and peace begins to return to your heart. A practical habit is daily self-reflection. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I control my reactions today, or did I let others disturb my peace? Gradually, this builds awareness and strengthens emotional discipline. Another step is focusing on your intentions before responding. Remind yourself that your goal is to maintain composure, act rightly, and protect your heart for the sake of Allah. Over time, this practice transforms your life. You will notice that the same situations that once provoked you no longer have the same effect. Your heart becomes a sanctuary of calm, and your peace is no longer dependent on the behavior of others. By focusing on what you can control, yourself, and leaving the rest to Allah, you cultivate a heart that is resilient, composed, and unshaken. This is true strength, not the power to change others, but the wisdom to master yourself, and in doing so, experience a life of inner peace, patience, and spiritual fulfillment that no one can disturb. So today, make a decision. Stop giving people the power to control your emotions. Stop allowing small things to steal your peace. Choose calmness, choose patience, choose strength, because the moment you control your anger, you take back control of your life. My beloved brothers and sisters, people will always talk. Situations will always test you. But remember, your peace is too valuable to be disturbed by everything. Stay calm, stay strong, stay connected to Allah, and you will rise above what once used to shake you.